Welcome to this episode of the Building Texas Show. We're excited to be in College Station, Texas, and visiting with Mayor John Nichols. College Station is an interesting town because a lot of people move in and out often. So I'm excited to know, what is it like to be mayor of College Station, Texas?
Well, you got to like the excitement because you're right. We have almost 80,000 students. College Station is the home of Texas A&M, and that large number of students means we are a very community. So you've got to be ready for the town gown interaction, shall we say. Lifestyles are a little different than permanent residents, so neighborhoods are always involved in some of the activities that students are involved in. Students are actually very engaged and helpful in the community because they run a very large, big event, what they call a big event, which means they go out in the community on a day in the spring and do a whole lot of cleanup. And thousands and thousands of students are out. About 45,000 of those 80,000 students live inside the city College Station. They don't live on the campus. So it's an exciting place. A lot of growth. We're developing rapidly, and it's not bad for the mayor. It's just you got to keep up.
Well, that's one of my questions. With that many people coming in, I have to assume some number of that population want to stay in College Station.
Yeah, we grow about 2,000 people a year. Some of the students stay, but really it's the growth of the university that attracts a lot of faculty, staff, research scientists, technicians, and others who do want to stay. And of course, we got industry here, private sector, biotech industries that are several different firms that attract their workforce as well. It's an area that we're working on for sure.
Now, what inspired you to run for mayor? Because it's a public servant role in most cities across Texas. It's not a high-paying job by any means. But what got you into city government and ultimately to mayor?
Well, yes, in College Station is not for the money, that's for sure. It's a commitment to be involved in the community. I've always had a great curiosity about what goes on in the community, so I've been here over 50 years. I moved here from somewhere else, a long ways away. I came to join the faculty of Texas A&M, but I've always been interested in what's going on in the community. So I joined early on organizations that were developing opportunities and needs, working on various things in the city across sports and music and that sort of areas. And then eventually you get attracted to city government. So I wound up being on an appointed board committee member, finally on Planning and Zoning Commission. All of those are appointed. But at some point you say, well, okay, you've learned all you can learn. Particularly in planning and zoning, you learn how to make decisions in public and speak to the public and articulate your views, because you've got to make a lot of decisions on planning and zoning and it's all public. So then you say, well, okay, if I can do that, then maybe I ought to run for council. And after 10 years on the council, I decided it was time for me to step up and run for mayor, and here I am.
So you've been tracking College Station's exponential growth over the last decade in the mix. You've been in those conversations for sure.
That's for sure. Yeah, at least over a decade on city council, which means all the policy and budget decisions are things that I was very well versed in and worked at understanding, and then guiding the city through the council role, and now mayor.
One of the groups, the McFarren Center for Entrepreneurship, wanted me to ask a question about entrepreneurs coming out of Texas A&M, coming out of systems like the McFarren Entrepreneurship program. What is College Station doing to attract people to stay in College Station, or supporting them building in College Station?
That's a really good question, because we probably are playing catch up in that area. With 80,000 students, there's no way, and 15 or 20,000 of them graduating every year, there's no way this community is going to absorb a very large share of them. We understand that. But we are, through our economic development group department, working on several entrepreneurship activities by aligning ourselves and inviting in some external groups like the Canon Group from the base in Houston, Plug and Play, which is based out of California. Those organizations, plus ourselves, are working on startup opportunities. We are just completing an update of our comprehensive plan, which includes a big section on economic development. A focal point, a significant focal point of that is entrepreneurship. And we are looking at buildings and locations that we might have where we could create a startup hub that would allow the city to have some flexible space so we could invite some of those McFarren students and others at A&M that have got a great idea. They've got a little bit of funding. They just need an office to start out in, and that's something we think we can provide. So we're looking at the facilities we already have that will be available soon as we reorganize some things in the city to make that available at a reasonably low cost. Obviously, we can't build a whole new building for this, but adapting existing space for a innovation startup hub is high on our agenda.
That's great to hear. I believe in that. I'm a big fan of what the Canon and John Lambert are doing. And so I'm glad to hear that you're working with them in that way.
I was just going to say, we have been working with them with their online services. We've accessed that. We make that available to any citizen of the community or the university students. If they want to access the online data availability that the Canon has, they can easily get it through our economic development department.
That's fantastic. And from that, it sounds like that's part of your master plan as a city is economic development and a strategy to find the right balance between economic development growth and in your instance, I think the university, but there may be other pressures that you have to balance too in your master planning. What does that look like in College Station?
Well, I think everything in this area is driven by university and technology, of course. I don't see that there are major constraints other than available building space. College Station is bounded with regard to annexation because of the state legislation and simply availability of land on the south side of the city for annexation. So, our industry, we are trying to diversify the economy so it's not all tied to the university, and we made good strides in that. We're now a net private sector employment city rather than education and public employment, which is, I think, the first time ever the College Station since it was started, because it was started as a bedroom community for the university, and the university was all there was. So an effort to diversify the economy is certainly a high priority. It is part of our, has been part of our economic development plan, but it'll even be more of a significant part in the future. I think the whole entrepreneurship effort is something that we're trying to highlight and reach out to organizations like the McFarren Institute and some others to attract startup businesses and see if we can't help them grow by providing the sort of the infrastructure, if you want to call it that, soft and hard, that would keep them here in the community. I think another large limitation here is that most of the venture capital is in the larger cities. So there's that it's in Houston or Dallas or maybe Austin, the three corners of the Texas Triangle, and San Antonio being the other one, I guess. The venture capital people tend to look at opportunities that are in their area or region and within reach of them. The university has made an effort, and we've made an effort to broaden that base. Startups need venture capital. They need angel capital first, then they need venture capital, and then they need long-term capital. I think that's probably one of the constraints that we have here that we work on. There is a regional economic development organization that called Greater Brazos Partnership that helps to magnify what we do and works at the next higher level. And we bring in bring in the local characteristics, local opportunities.
Well, that does make me ask about hotel occupancy tax, and what we all hear about is heads and beds. You
Mm-hmm.
have you have the university. It attracts a lot of visitors year round. But when you have 112,000 people at Kyle Field, what does that do to College Station? I imagine that puts a lot of stress on infrastructure and services.
Well, it puts a lot of stress on our transportation network because we're not on an interstate, and that's years away from developing. But it's the private sector has grown substantially, particularly residential and hotel and the Verbo and those kinds of uh, hosting opportunities. So the city is prepared to handle big crowds, and I guess the football season is the stretch, and that stretches everybody. But I would say tourism in general is a big opportunity for the city and something that we have worked on. It's not just the university, it's sports tourism. And what we're trying to work on now, along with the university and the hotels in the area, is the midweek conference and convention kinds of businesses that are regional in nature, that are within driving distance, a couple hundred miles of 300 miles of Texas of College Station, and drawing some of those regional midweek opportunities to help fill the hotels during the midweek. We do. The city has quite an extensive investment in sports tourism. So, as a matter of fact, we're now working on plans for a baseball complex, which would add opportunities for traveling teams, little league, and others to be attracted here. But we do a great job with flat fields, soccer, lacrosse, you name it, flag football. The 7-on-7 games are here regularly. So we have a pretty good tourism industry, if you want to call it that. And we've got a part of our economic development organization, the structure includes tourism. So you mentioned hotel occupancy tax. Several, well, 2 or 3 million of that is turned right around and put into the personnel and the operations and the outreach and the advertising and the marketing budget to attract more tourists here to help put heads in beds, as you say.
Well, it, relative to the size of College Station and the tourism that you get on a weekend like what you have ahead, I applaud the whole city staff for having plans in place, for having actions to take, and being able to support it in a really positive way. You also get high profile guests very often in your city, and that does open up new stressors as well.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess one highlight there is the George H.W. Bush Library and the George and Barbara Bush Foundation attracts a lot of high-profile speakers. And another growth area for the community is the retirement community. Texas A&M grew really rapidly in the 70s and 80s, so there's an awful lot of young retirees that have gone away, military, engineering, oil and gas industry, private sector, whatever. They're finding a lot of them finding their way back here, and they're bringing their own resources, buying nice homes. They are attracted to both the sports opportunities plus the kind of intellectual environment that the university provides. So the lecture series on the campus and with the George Bush Foundation series, all of the school activities there do attract well-known speakers and a lot of events. So it's not only a tourism thing; it's an opportunity for people living in the community to learn and enjoy their opportunities here.
That's incredible. As we wrap up today, I so appreciate the time and perspective. But what are you looking forward to in 2026, and what would you encourage people coming to College Station to think about?
Well, we're a growing community. I would say managing our growth at the same time hosting a large transient population, the student body is a challenge, but we're We got a very strong capital plan. I would say not just over the next year, but over the next decade, we'll see a lot more vertical development and infill development, because I think that's where the future of College Station is we'll grow, but we're going to grow up and more dense. And so adjusting to that and making sure our transportation facilities and all of our other infrastructure needs, as well as public safety, are up to speed in those areas. We've got a very high quality level of services, certainly public safety, waste management, electric system, water system are all viewed by citizens as being high quality. So keeping that high quality while managing growth is probably our biggest challenge. But we're looking forward to more development. The university just announced a hiring of net new 165 new faculty positions. Those are high-paying positions, and they bring people with them because they start laboratories, they bring research grants. Texas A&M is the largest research institution in the South and Southwest among universities, about a $1.4 billion research budget, not counting any of the education side of things. So that spins off into demand for housing, which is another area that challenges every city now, is workforce housing and housing of various types to satisfy everybody from students to well-endowed professors.
Well, Mayor John Nichols, it's been a pleasure, and I've learned a lot about College Station today. I appreciate you taking the time and helping us get the word out about the great work that you and your city staff do to make College Station a jewel in the Texas Triangle.
Well, we are right smack in the middle of the Texas Triangle, and we're an easy place to get to from the corners. So we're just looking for opportunities to grow, develop, and serve the citizens that are attracted here, not only by the biggest university in the country, by a pretty great opportunity for industrial growth as well.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us at the Building Texas Show. We're excited to share stories from across the state, covering the future of work and what Texas is going to look like over the next 50 years. Please like and subscribe on YouTube